Hey y'all, Rich Barley here. We're going to use lone oak to create a highly profitable animal farm. Hopefully. So we're going to start the animal farm off with chickens, which means we need wheat or barley to feed them. We've already learned in another video that barley creates more grain, although wheat sells for a little better price, but we're not selling it. So there's only two rotations that work well for barley, either barley and cotton or barley, canola, and soybeans, but canola takes too long to come up, and you might miss an occasional barley planting. So next we need to get a tractor. Out of the mediums, I use the same one starting every farm manager play that I do, and that's the John Deere 6250R. It can be configured with 300 horsepower. It's got a front loader attacher, so a good everyday tractor that'll pull a decent sized plow and all the planters and seeders and such that we will be using. So we'll go ahead and buy that because we're going to use it almost every day, and it just doesn't make sense to lease something that you use that often. The payments, it'll take less than a year, and you'll pay more than you would have for the tractor. So for a plow, I like these shanks. They're just easier to control. I have enough horsepower on the tractor to pull the largest one, but we don't use a plow all the time. So we lease that and a counterweight because they are heavy, and the tractor gets a little squirrely if you don't put a weight on it. Now we'll get the store to deliver that stuff to the farm for us. On Lone Oak, that happens automatically. Another reason I do really like this map. So you go to the store and you tell it to reset stuff, and it says it's resetting it to the shop, but no, actually it's resetting it to the farm. That's just convenient. A very helpful store staff, wouldn't you say? So we're going to go ahead and get this weight and the plow connected, get over to our land. Oh, we got to purchase the land. So we're going to buy the farm. We'll buy all this area in between for $0 whole dollars. And then we're going to buy our plot. That's field 32, where we're going to go ahead and lay down our barley. So over at 32, we're going to go ahead and get this shank in the ground and let our worker start creating our headlands. On field 32, I like to do 2 to 3 rows of headlands on each end of the field and then do the back and forth. So we're going to let our worker tackle that. And you'll notice that I use the workers to the full extent. There's a few activities that they can't do, like picking up windrows of straw and spraying weed killer, but that's about it. Now while he's finishing up this field, we're going to accomplish a few things. First, I want to round out how we're going to play Lone Oak. We are doing this with the Seasons mod installed, and our geo is the US Midwest. I'm playing with 6-day seasons and line turned off. Everything else are pretty much default. Now, one thing we can do while plowing is shop. So we need to get a front loader because we're going to have to pick up a bunch of stuff from the store to plant this field. We need seeds and fertilizer and herbicide, our weed murder chemicals. And we're going to need a way to load that onto a trailer. So we use the John Deere 643R front loader, and then CSZ has a bucket that pretty much, or not a bucket, pallet forks that work really nicely, and they have a feature to help you deal with the whole pallet stuck on forks thing. Basically, you can disable collision, so if a pallet gets stuck on your forks, you can just disable collision and it'll drop the pallet. That just is dealing with a farming simulator bug with pallets. And it also gives you a cool feature to kind of connect pallets as an attachment. So you'll see how that works, but it definitely helps with the pallet mechanics that are currently not all that great in the game. And again, we'll get all of our purchases delivered back to the farm so that we don't have to drive up there, although we're going to end up driving up there anyway to pick up stuff. Rain. Rain is good. Helps the crops grow. In fact, we can check our soil moisture if we had the MT9 scanner tool, but we can fix that. Doing a lot of shopping while plowing. There we go. Get that purchased. And now we can check the soil moisture. 24%. That's nice. Anything above 12 is nominal. Below 12 and you'll get crop damage. Either your seeds, some portions of your field will fail to germinate, or they'll wither, and it shows up as harvested. It's a seasons thing. And get these last few bits of the field plowed up. Looks like we're going to have rain all the way up until this afternoon and again tonight. And then it'll be dry for 1 day and then more rain. All good for planting. There we go. All plowed up. So we can return our plow and the weight. We don't need them. We won't need them again until time to replant this field. What we will need is a way to spread some lime, so we'll get a fertilizer spreader. Really looking for something not that expensive, and we're just going to lease it because we're not going to use this for a very long time. It's just that because we cut the field a little wider than the previous owner, there's an area around it, a border, that says need lime. So we'll just go ahead and get our lime spreader. We do have a lime station on Lone Oak Farm that comes. It's a placeable that's just already on the farm when you buy it. So we'll get our lime from there. We'll get that border cleaned up so that we can head into the planting of the field. Yeah, the lime station is over here on the end of where the hay sale point is. It's got a small trigger, so you just pull in close and start filling. So even though we're turning off lime, because we cut new field, so to speak, it requires it. Otherwise, you end up with a penalty. I think it's 10 or 15% yield over the area that needs lime. So considering lime doesn't cost that much, and it's not hard to put down, lime is bulky. So it really, if I were going to lime that whole field, you'd be making several trips back and forth between the field and the lime station. But for this little area, we should be able just to make a single lap and get all of that need lime business done, and then return our fertilizer spreader. We'll be using liquid for our second and third applications of fertilizer to our fields. The first application will happen at planting or seeding. We'll use combination seeders and planters so that we get our first application when we drop the seeds. So get that returned. And start thinking about what we need to do next. For a sprayer, which will be how we apply our weed murder chemicals and our plant food, the Navigator from Hardi kind of fits our needs. It's a little on the expensive side, but it's got a nice wide set of arms so that we won't spend 10 years dropping chemicals. And since weed herbicide can't be done by the AI, I definitely want to be doing as little of it as I have to. And we're really not going to paint this. We're going to lease it because we only use it, twice a year. At this point, we're really working off of we're going to try to build this animal farm as quickly as possible, which means we're going to be in a high credit situation, which means we're going to lease a lot of stuff. We're going to borrow money whenever we want to try to make sure that we get our basic animals set up in the first 3 years. And this first year is chickens. Second year will be cows. And the third year will be sheep. And we're going to limit ourselves for these first few years on animals that produce a sellable good. So we won't be using the meat animals. We're going to have chickens that produce eggs, cows that produce milk, and sheep that produce wool. And we're going to get that established before we move into whatever we decide the second phase should be. So here we need to put on our front loader attacher. Probably should have just done that when we bought it. Mistakes were made. But we need that so that we can attach to the 643R front loader that we bought so we can put stuff on this trailer. And again, we're going to lease this trailer because we're just going to use it to pick up our fertilizer, herbicide, seed, all that stuff. So we're not going to keep it around. It's a baling trailer and it's a good one, but we're not going to need it for a while after this. So now we need to pick up all our stuff, buy our herbicide, and we're using liquids for the sprayer. So we'll get everything purchased and then we'll get it loaded on there. And the Navigator's capacity is 6,000, hence the name, 6,000 liters. So we'll buy enough to fill it up. It's 3 tanks. And we can do the same for the liquid fertilizer. So we loaded up everything, brought the trailer back to the farm, and now we're going to unload it into our stock area. I use these little, I don't know, bins or sheds or whatever you want to call them, and we'll stack things up over here so that we can basically just come in and load up our seeders and planters and sprayers without stuff being in the way. There you go, all neatly out of the way, so we can just drive through here with our stuff, fill it up, and then get to the field. So we'll get this trailer moved out of the way, just to keep it for this first part, just to make sure there's not something else we forgot or need to go back to the store for. We'll just move it over here, and once I'm sure that I've got everything I need, then I'll just return it. We'll drop the front loader because we don't need that for working the crops. No, not the forks, the whole front loader. There we go. Let's keep that out of the way. And let's get the sprayer loaded up. Bring it back over to our little stock area, and we're going to load it up with some fertilizer. It holds 6,000 liters, but the field doesn't need 6,000 liters. Not only that, but I'll be using a worker to spread the fertilizer, so we only need enough to get started, and then he can buy whatever's necessary. Let's see. As far as a seeder, the Condor's nice, but it's expensive. Really wide arms, it'll do the job, it'll hold everything necessary to do the whole field, but $11,500, geez. This Horsch does a really good job. I've used it a lot, and it's like a third of the cost, or less than half the cost. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and lease the Horsch, again, because we're only going to use it once a year. There's no need to buy it. Again, we're going to go as debt heavy. It's all going to be lease, credit. Anything that we don't need every day to begin with is going to be leased. And anything we need to purchase, if we need to borrow money, we're just going to borrow whatever we need. At some point, we may even max out our credit. And the way the credit system works is you're allowed to borrow a certain amount of money based on how much land you own. I mean, you can start out at the beginning, I think. We start out with a $250,000 loan already because of farm manager mode. That's the mode I play in. I think you can get up to $750,000 without buying any land. But once you buy land, which we of course bought the farm, and we bought Field 32, it would let us borrow more if we needed to. But we're leasing all our equipment except for the tractor. So at the moment, I don't really need to borrow more. But if we run out of money, I'll borrow as much as we need. We want to build this farm up as quickly as possible. So our worker's finishing up the headlands for Field 32. And something interesting. After planting, we've got 2 levels of fertilization. I guess we plowed under maybe what would have been oilseed radish. I'm not sure. Well, we got the first one, but I'll take it. Free fertilizer is free fertilizer. Not complaining. So this will give us our first and second levels. So we'll only need to come back with a sprayer once. And there, the field is done. Planted barley. So we'll take the seeder back to our stock area. We're going to dump the stuff that's in it so that we can return it. So come back here, hit the I key, and there we go. Some seed and some fertilizer. Drop that off. Go pick up our sprayer so that we can do our final level of fertilization on the field. And all right, we're applying our last level of fertilization. Start creating our headlands. And we'll let an AI worker eventually finish all this up. You see all those pink blotches? Well, it's these things, weeds. And we'll have to do the herb murder chemical run all by ourselves. We won't be able to hire a worker for that. They just won't do it. Not sure why not. Not sure why that chemical is different than the others unless they assume you want a spot spray. But since the herbicide works as a pre-emergent and will prevent new weeds from forming, I don't know why you wouldn't just spray the whole field. They're not that expensive versus losing a lot of your yield. And for us, our yield determines how many chickens we can support. And that's what we're going to have to find out from this field. While I know barley yields more grain than wheat, I don't know exactly how much this field will produce. And that will tell us how many chicken coops we're going to be able to support. There's one already on the farm, and it's 500 chickens. And as you can see, we've finished up fertilizer. All that's left is to kill all those pink blotches to have a nice looking field. But the one that's already on Lone Oak Farm will hold 500 chickens. And the other ones we'll use also will hold 500 chickens. And I think we're going to end up somewhere between 3 and 5 coops. I don't know. exactly. We should be able to get enough food for at least 1,500 chickens, and maybe as much as 2,500. And that should produce a lot of eggs. We'll get this flipped out with some herb murder chemicals. Say that 5 times fast. And get back in the field and paint over our little pink blotches. Burn those weeds up. And according to the field calculator, we're going to need about 2,500 liters of herb murder stuff. So we'll get that in the tank. And we'll see how accurate that is. That's the Global Company app, by the way, and it's got a thing that will estimate for your field how much of fertilizer, herbicide, slurry, manure, whatever you need. And for our field, 32, it says we need about 2,500. So we'll put a little more than that in there. And we'll find out how accurate this thing is. Hopefully we don't have to come back, and we also won't have a lot to dump back out. Oh, I forgot to return that. Hey, one way to make sure things get returned is leave them in your way. And we definitely know now we don't need the trailer anymore, because after we apply herbicide, this field is completed and really nothing left to do until harvest. So back on 32 with our herbicide in the sprayer. And since it doesn't leave a track to let you know where you sprayed, I use guided steering, the GPS mod. That way I don't waste a lot of chemical spraying over where I've been, because you can't tell where you've been, other than seeing the burned up weeds. And in some lanes, you won't have an indication of where you were. Using the guided steering mod, I can easily lane myself to make sure that I'm spraying where I need to and not overspraying the same area twice. So we'll create our headlands. This we will do manually and make it a nice blue square, rectangle actually. Now unfortunately, the thing did not estimate good enough for us. So I'm going to stop in the middle of this weed field so I can tell where I stopped, because again you can see there is no darkening to tell me what's been done and what hasn't. So between the guided steering mod and that half-burned plot of weeds, I know where to restart. So let's get some more herbicide. Back out to the field and see, use the guided steering where we know we're in the right lane. And because of where I left that half-burned weed plot, I know about where to begin and continue burning weeds. So we'll get this field finished up. That should be the last run. And we'll get this folded up, emptied out, and returned. So the field having been totally set up, there's not much else that needs to be done. So we'll come over here and feed the puppy dog. And shoot some hoops. Alright. Oh, first bucket. 2. Alright. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy? Okay, and now there's nothing left to do but really get some shut-eye. It's only 5:45, so we can watch the sunset. And in general, the house won't let you sleep until the sun has set. So, but you can see we've got everything we needed for that field. It's planted, fertilized, and no weeds. That should give us maximum yield and let us know how many chickens our farm will support. The sun is not quite set yet, so we'll watch the sunset and then get some shut-eye. You'll notice our loan interest right now is $1,068 per day. And we're getting more rain, just as the forecast said we would. And there's really, at this point, not much else to do on the farm, so we sped time up. And we're just going to watch a field grow and see that it's going to be another 2 days at least before barley comes up. And I believe we planted on the first day, so we may see barley early, but typically it's that second or third day that is where it comes up. Unless you plant the winter before, then you might get a harvest on the first day. But we'll run out to the field. All this rain, I gotta believe that we've got good moisture in the field for our plants to grow. Certainly looking very nice. Quick check of the moisture. And 11%, a little shy. According to Realismus, the people who make the Seasons mod, 12% is nominal. Anything below that, you risk failed germination early. Now we've already passed the germination state and nothing failed. There were no little blotches. So withering is the only thing we're at now. So we'll go ahead and do our daily feed the duck. What? Oh no. Oh dear Lord. Oh no. Well, is he stuck in there? Come on, play. If we play, maybe he's... Oh, that's not good. I don't know. Maybe we can get him a toy. Here, let's put his ball in there since his head is stuck in the doghouse. What? Oh my. Well, that's not normal. Huh. Well, don't quite know what to do about that. Well, we'll see if he unsticks himself, because I don't know what else to do. And here we are, 6 o'clock in the evening, and again, nothing to do. So we could reorganize our little stock area. There's not a whole lot here. A couple of bags of seed. Just kind of put them over where they go. Clean up this area so that we're ready for harvest. With the stock area all tidied up, we are getting a little more rain. Not complaining. We're on the second day of summer. And this is about where we expect our crop to become harvestable. Somewhere in here, second and third day of summer is where I think barley generally comes up. But it's raining, so it doesn't much matter. It's going to rain today, late tonight, and tomorrow. So maybe late Tuesday or sometime Wednesday we'll be able to harvest. But not today. Can't harvest wet crops. Well, here we are Tuesday, and as they forecasted, it's raining, and it's looking like, wow, the very last day where we could plant cotton is tomorrow, and we'll have to save that for the next episode. We'll see, does it dry out, or do we have to plant something else? Remember to give us a like and subscribe if you want to see more of how the Lone Oak Animal Farm grows up.